The voicemail buzzed on my phone at 11:47 p.m. on a night that should have been the most joyful of Amanda's life. Dad, I can't find them anywhere. They left me here. Tyler's voice, raw with terror, crackled through the static. The sun's going down and I don't know where I am. Then the line died. In that moment, an icy certainty gripped me. My 12-year-old son was facing death, all thanks to my ex-wife's new husband. For more tales of betrayal, hit like, subscribe, and drop your location in the comments. I should have recognized the warning signs when Amanda called me 3 days before her wedding. Her voice was overly sweet, meticulously careful. Ethan, I know this is difficult, but Marcus really wants to bond with Tyler. He's arranged this fantastic camping trip in Joshua Tree right after the ceremony. I stood in my kitchen, still in the army fatigues I'd worn for the survival training course I'd just finished instructing. The irony was not lost on me. Here I was, dedicating my days to teaching soldiers how to survive in hostile territories, while my ex-wife was poised to entrust our son to a man I'd never once found trustworthy. Amanda, Tyler hardly knows Marcus, and Joshua Tree in August, that's not camping. That's courting heat stroke. God, Ethan, you always assume the worst. Marcus has been camping his entire life. His son Jake is going too. It'll be like brothers bonding. Brothers. The word twisted in my gut. Jake was 17, spoiled and resentful, and had already made it clear he disliked Tyler's presence. I'd witnessed the way he glared at my son during the few awkward family dinners Amanda had insisted upon. What about water? Emergency supplies? Does Marcus even understand basic desert safety? Amanda's tone sharpened. Marcus owns a multi-million-dollar construction company, Ethan. I believe he can manage a camping trip. Besides, the wedding is at the Desert Rose Resort. They're virtually staying right there. That was her first deception. Though I didn't realize it then. The wedding itself felt like a nightmare wrapped in white silk and forced smiles. I attended because Tyler had pleaded with me, wearing my best suit and struggling to mask the rage as I watched Amanda marry a man who hadn't bothered to have a meaningful conversation with my son. Marcus Wellington epitomized everything Amanda had always desired. Tall, silver-haired, in a suit that likely surpassed my monthly salary. His son Jake stood beside him as best man, a smug smirk plastered across his face as though he owned the world. Tyler sat in the front row, visibly uncomfortable in his rented tuxedo, attempting to smile for his mother's sake. My heart ached watching him pretend everything was fine. During the reception, Marcus sought me out at the bar. Ethan, right? The army guy. Former army. I teach survival courses now. Ah, playing soldier for civilians. His laugh was condescending. Well, don't you worry about Tyler. Jake and I will take excellent care of him on our little adventure. The phrase little adventure made my skin crawl. Yet Amanda was watching, radiant in her wedding dress, and Tyler was momentarily laughing at something Jake had said. I swallowed my concerns and shook Marcus's hand. Just remember, Marcus, desert survival isn't a game. Water, shelter, signaling, the basics can save a life. Thanks for the tip, soldier. That was Saturday night. By Sunday morning, they were gone. Amanda sent me a photo of Tyler waving from Marcus's luxury RV, promising they'd be back by Wednesday. Wednesday arrived and passed. No Tyler, no phone calls. Thursday morning, I called Amanda. It went straight to voicemail. I called Marcus's construction office. Mr. Wellington is unavailable. By Thursday evening, I was driving towards Joshua Tree. Every survival instinct I'd ever learned screaming that something was desperately wrong. That's when Tyler's voicemail came through. Scared, alone, abandoned. I pulled over on Highway 62, my hands trembling as I replayed the message. In the background of Tyler's panicked voice, I could hear wind whistling through rock formations. No RV engine, no voices of Marcus or Jake. Just my 12-year-old son, lost in the 120-degree desert heat, crying out for his father. I retrieved my emergency pack from the truck bed. Water, first aid, GPS. Everything I'd need to track a missing person in hostile terrain. As I geared up, Tyler's words echoed in my mind. They left me here. Not I got lost. Not we got separated. They left me. But Marcus Wellington had made one critical error. He'd forgotten that Tyler's father had spent 15 years training soldiers how to survive when everyone else had given up on them. And now, armed with every skill the army had imparted about hunting down an enemy, I was coming for my son. The only uncertainty was whether I would reach Tyler in time, or if Amanda's new husband had already gotten away with murder. By 3 a.m., I was deep within Joshua Tree, following cell tower pings from Tyler's last known location. The GPS coordinates led me to a secluded camping area called Skull Rock, nowhere near the Desert Rose Resort where Amanda had claimed they were staying. I'd been teaching survival for 8 years since leaving active duty. I knew how to interpret signs most people missed: disturbed earth, broken vegetation, tire tracks in the sand. What I discovered at the coordinates chilled me to the bone. Fresh RV tracks led to a rocky outcrop, then ceased abruptly. Boot prints indicated 3 people had exited. 2 large sets, 1 small, Tyler's size. The small prints ambled around confusedly for about 20 feet, then vanished, as if he'd disappeared into thin air. But the 2 large sets of prints? They went straight back to the RV. And then the vehicle drove away. My hands shaking with uncontrolled rage, I called the San Bernardino Sheriff's Office. Sheriff's Department, Deputy Martinez, speaking. This is Ethan Reeves. My 12-year-old son is missing in Joshua Tree. I have GPS coordinates and evidence of abandonment. Sir, I show a missing persons report was already filed by Amanda Wellington. It states the boy ran away during a family camping trip. These things happen with kids upset about divorce situations. Amanda had already reported it, already manipulated the narrative. Deputy, this wasn't a runaway. Someone intentionally left my son in the desert to die. Mr. Reeves, I understand you're distressed, but without evidence of foul play, we treat this as a standard search and rescue. We have teams out looking. I'm standing at the abandonment site right now. I can show you tire tracks, boot prints. Sir, are you trained in forensic analysis? Because unless you're a certified expert, those tracks don't hold much weight in court. The line went dead. I stood there in the dark desert, rage igniting within me like a wildfire. Amanda and Marcus had executed their plan perfectly. Frame it as a troubled child running away from a new family situation, and suddenly everyone's sympathy is with the grieving parents. Then I remembered Tyler's emergency bag. 3 months prior, after Tyler had been lost for 2 hours at a mall, I had sewn a small GPS tracker and emergency beacon into the lining of his favorite backpack. He didn't know it was there. Amanda would have erupted if she knew I was tracking our son. I pulled out my phone and opened the tracking app. A small red dot blinked weakly about 2 miles south of my position, moving slowly, still alive. Following the signal through the rocky desert terrain, I found Tyler's trail. It wasn't the chaotic wandering of a lost child, but the deliberate movement pattern I taught him during our camping trips. Stay near water sources, follow animal paths, create signal markers. He had been employing my training to survive. Every 100 yards, I found small rock cairns, 3 stones stacked in a pyramid. Tyler's way of marking his path, just as I had shown him on our father-son hiking trips. But these cairns were different. The top stone consistently pointed in the same direction, not merely marking his path, but showing me where he had come from. At the 3rd cairn, I discovered something that made my heart seize. Tyler's small journal, carefully wedged between 2 rocks to protect it from the wind. Inside, his handwriting, a panicked scrawl. Day 1. Dad, if you find this, Marcus and Jake left me on purpose. Jake said I embarrassed Mom at the wedding by crying during her speech. Marcus said I needed to learn what happens to kids who don't respect their new family. They said if I could survive one night alone, they'd come back for me. But I heard them talking in the RV. Jake laughed and said, "Accident solved." Marcus told him to shut up, but he was laughing too. They took all the water except 1 bottle, took my food, even took my phone charger so the battery would die. Marcus said Mom would be happier without me causing problems in her new marriage. I'm scared, Dad, but I remember what you taught me. Find shelter. Signal for help. Don't panic. I love you. I read those words 3 times before the rage struck me like a physical blow. This wasn't child abandonment. This was attempted murder, sanctioned by my ex-wife. My hands trembled as I dialed Amanda's number. It rang twice before her sleepy voice answered. "Ethan, it's 3 o'clock in the morning." "What?" "I found Tyler's journal, Amanda." Silence. Then cautiously, "What journal?" "The one where he wrote about Marcus and Jake leaving him to die. The one where he explains how this was all planned." My voice was deadly calm, the way it became before combat operations. "The one where he says you'd be happier without him." "Ethan, you're not making sense. Tyler ran away because he was upset about the wedding. Marcus and Jake are devastated. They searched for hours before." "Stop lying to me." The words erupted like a growl. "I have physical evidence. I have Tyler's testimony in his own handwriting. And I have GPS coordinates proving they abandoned him 15 miles from where they said he went missing." Another long pause. When Amanda spoke again, her voice had shifted. It was colder. "Even if that were true, what are you going to do about it? You're a divorced father with PTSD and anger management issues. I, a newlywed bride, am faced with the harrowing reality that my stepson has vanished without a trace. Whose narrative do you believe will prevail in the eyes of the public?" The deception had finally crumbled. This was the same woman who had dissolved our marriage immediately upon my return from deployment, citing an inability to cope with the mounting stress. For 3 years, she had relentlessly attempted to diminish my time with Tyler, consumed by jealousy over his affection for me. I will find our son, Amanda, and when I do, I will ensure the entire world recognizes the depraved nature of a mother who sacrifices her own child for the sake of a wealthy husband. Her dismissive retort echoed, Good luck with that, Ethan. You've always been more adept at playing soldier than navigating the complexities of the real world. She disconnected the call. I remained rooted in the desert's enveloping darkness. Tyler's journal clutched tightly in my hand. The full magnitude of the challenge before me now painfully clear. This ordeal transcended Marcus's cruelty or Jake's malice. It was about Amanda consciously prioritizing her new life over Tyler's very existence. Yet, she had committed one critical misstep. She had overlooked that my expertise wasn't limited to mere soldiering. For 15 years, I had been rigorously trained to pursue adversaries who inflicted harm upon the innocent. And at this very moment, my ex-wife had unequivocally declared herself an adversary. As dawn painted the Mojave Desert, I ventured deeper into the wilderness, tracing Tyler's path. The GPS tracker on his backpack indicated he had advanced another half-mile during the night. A positive sign he remained conscious, in motion, and fighting for survival. However, I was acutely aware of the harsh realities of desert endurance. In August heat, soaring past 120 degrees, a 12-year-old boy could scarcely survive 3 days without water. Tyler had already endured almost 2 full days out here. The trail navigated a labyrinth of Joshua trees and granite boulders, following what appeared to be an abandoned mining road that had seen no upkeep for decades. This was far removed from the family-friendly camping sites Amanda had described. This was remote backcountry, where even seasoned hikers vanished and perished. Every few hundred yards, I discovered another of Tyler's cairns. 3 rocks meticulously stacked, the uppermost invariably pointing towards the location of his abandonment. My son was demonstrating remarkable ingenuity, creating a breadcrumb trail, precisely as I had taught him during our camping excursions in Sequoia National Forest. But within his trail pattern, there was an additional element that simultaneously swelled my chest with pride and tightened it with dread. Tyler wasn't merely wandering. He was deliberately following water indicators, animal tracks, patches of vibrant vegetation, and subtle changes in slope that hinted at seasonal water flow. The survival techniques I had rigorously instilled in him were now keeping him alive. At the 4th cairn, I located Tyler's empty water bottle, securely wedged beneath a rock. I retrieved it, scrutinizing it carefully. No animal teeth marks, no damage from falls. He had depleted his water supply, but possessed the discipline to retain the container, anticipating the possibility of collecting more. It was then that I heard the distinctive sound of a helicopter. The San Bernardino County Search and Rescue, executing a grid pattern approximately 2 miles north of my position. But they were scouring the incorrect area. The vicinity where Amanda and Marcus had falsely claimed Tyler went missing, not the actual site of his abandonment. I retrieved my satellite phone and directly dialed the sheriff's department. "This is Ethan Reeves. I've been tracking my missing son, Tyler, for the past 6 hours. Your search teams are in the wrong location." A stern voice replied, "Mr. Reeves, we have repeatedly requested that you remain outside the search area. You are impeding official operations." My retort was sharp. "Your official operations are founded on falsehoods. I possess tangible evidence that Tyler was abandoned 15 miles from where his stepfather alleged his disappearance." The voice on the other end responded, "Sir, unless you are a certified tracker, Your evidence does not supersede the witness testimony of the family members who were actually present during the incident. The line went dead. I stood there, under the relentless desert sun, watching the helicopter persist in an entirely erroneous direction, while my son battled for his life in terrain they weren't even considering. It was at this juncture that my military training fully took over. If the system refused to aid me in saving Tyler, I would rescue him myself, employing every skill the Army had imparted. I switched my satellite phone to GPS beacon mode, marking my current coordinates. Then I dispatched a detailed message to my former unit commander, Colonel Sarah Chin. Emergency. Tyler missing in Joshua Tree. Abandoned by family. Official search compromised. GPS coordinates attached. Send backup if I don't check in every 6 hours. I then resumed following Tyler's trail, moving with the methodical precision of a combat patrol. Water conservation, energy management, and unceasing situational awareness. All the lessons that had preserved my life in Afghanistan were now intensely focused on preserving my son's. The trail ascended into a series of rocky canyons, where the temperature would be marginally cooler, yet the terrain infinitely more perilous. At the entrance to a narrow gorge, I discovered Tyler's backpack, carefully positioned under an overhang to shield it from the sun. Inside the pack, I found something that made my heart pound. Tyler's emergency whistle, the one I had gifted him for his 10th birthday, was conspicuously absent from its usual clip on the front pocket. However, wrapped around the whistle clip was a slender strip of fabric, torn from his t-shirt. A trail marker pointing deeper into the canyon. I followed the fabric strips Tyler had left, each one meticulously placed to capture the light and indicate direction. My son was thinking like a soldier, utilizing every available resource to survive and guide potential rescuers to his location. The canyon progressively narrowed as it snaked deeper into the desert mountains, creating natural shade that likely reduced the ambient temperature by perhaps 20 degrees. Tyler was astute. He had discovered the one place in this infernal landscape where he might endure the desert's scorching heat. But canyons were also prone to flash floods, and I could discern storm clouds gathering on the horizon. The very shelter that might safeguard Tyler from heat stroke could transform into a death trap if those clouds unleashed their fury. I pressed deeper into the gorge, following Tyler's fabric markers, when a sound arrested me completely. A whistle. 3 brief blasts. A pause. 3 brief blasts. The distress signal I had trained him to use. The sound emanated from deeper within the canyon, perhaps a quarter mile ahead. I responded with my own whistle, 2 long blasts, to convey that help was en route. Then I heard Tyler's voice, faint yet unmistakable, echoing off the canyon walls. "Dad? Dad, is that you?" "Tyler, I'm coming, son. Keep making noise so I can find you." I sprinted through the canyon, adrenaline overriding all caution regarding desert navigation. Following the sound of Tyler's whistle and voice around a sharp bend in the gorge, I finally saw him. My 12-year-old son was wedged into a natural cave formation, shielded from the sun, but visibly dehydrated and utterly exhausted. His lips were chapped, his face sunburned, but his eyes were alert and resolute. He was alive. "Dad, you found me." Tyler's voice was a mere whisper, yet he smiled. "I knew you'd come. I used everything you taught me." I pulled him into my arms, feeling how alarmingly light He had become after 2 days, without sustenance and only minimal water. But he was alive. My son was alive. I'm so proud of you, buddy. You did everything exactly right. As I administered water from my pack and began addressing his dehydration, he recounted the rest of the story, a narrative that would irrevocably alter everything. Dad, there's something else you need to know about why they left me here. It wasn't just about embarrassing Mom at the wedding. But before Tyler could complete his sentence, I heard a sound that sent chills through my veins. Vehicle engines approaching from the direction of the canyon entrance. Multiple vehicles moving swiftly. Someone was arriving, and given all that had transpired, I had a dreadful premonition it was not search and rescue. I seized Tyler and pulled him deeper into the cave formation, my heart hammering as the roar of vehicles intensified. Through the narrow opening, I observed 3 black SUVs with tinted windows parking at the canyon entrance. Not search and rescue, not law enforcement. These were private security, military-grade equipment, moving with tactical precision. "Dad, what's happening?" Tyler whispered, still weakened by dehydration, but alert enough to perceive danger. "Stay quiet, buddy. Someone doesn't want us getting out of here alive." The men who emerged from those vehicles were not local sheriff's deputies. They wore tactical gear, carried military-grade weapons, and moved with the coordination of a trained unit. Through my binoculars, I counted 8 operatives fanning out to cover all potential exit routes from the canyon. This was not a rescue operation. This was a cleanup crew. My satellite phone vibrated with an incoming message. The caller ID turned my blood to ice. "Amanda." "Ethan, we need to talk. Marcus has resources you don't understand. Bring Tyler to the canyon entrance, and this can all be resolved peacefully." I typed back, "What kind of resources hire mercenaries to hunt down children?" The response was immediate. "The kind that builds cities in the desert. The kind that makes problems disappear permanently. You have 30 minutes to surrender, Tyler, or this becomes much worse for everyone." It was then that Tyler tugged on my sleeve, his young face pale but resolute. "Dad, I need to tell you what I overheard the night before they left me here. This isn't just about me embarrassing Mom at the wedding." "What do you mean, son?" "Marcus was on the phone with someone called Judge Blackwood. He was talking about some kind of land deal in the desert. Something about building a casino where Indian burial grounds are protected. Marcus said if anyone found out about the illegal permits, his construction company would lose millions." The pieces of the puzzle clicked into place with horrifying clarity. Marcus Wellington wasn't merely Amanda's wealthy new husband. He was embroiled in an illicit development scheme that demanded absolute secrecy. Tyler, my exceptionally astute and inquisitive son, had inadvertently overheard information that held the potential to dismantle Wellington Construction's entire operation. "Tyler, precisely what did you hear?" I prompted. He recounted that Marcus had informed Judge Blackwood of a fabricated archaeological survey, revealing that they had bribed an individual within the Bureau of Land Management to authorize construction on sacred Jimmy land. Marcus had claimed that once the casino became operational, all the bribe money would be recouped within the initial year alone. My 12-year-old son had stumbled upon a federal conspiracy encompassing illegal land development, the bribery of government officials, and the desecration of Native American sacred sites. This was no longer a mere family disagreement. It had escalated into a situation focused on silencing a witness to extensive federal crimes. Through my binoculars, I observed the tactical team establishing a perimeter. These were not local patrol officers, but highly trained professionals, likely former military or law enforcement personnel, hired to orchestrate Tyler's disappearance as a tragic desert mishap. I retrieved my satellite phone and dispatched an encrypted message to Colonel Chun. Emergency escalation. Tyler witnessed federal conspiracy. Wellington Construction bribing BLM officials for illegal casino development on Jimmy sacred land. Judge Blackwood involved. Private military contractors on scene. Need FBI corruption task force immediately. GPS coordinates attached. Within minutes, my phone vibrated with Colonel Chun's response. FBI corruption team mobilizing from Riverside Field Office. Hold position. Federal agents en route. We, however, lacked the luxury of hours to await federal backup. The tactical team was systematically advancing through the canyon, and their intentions clearly did not involve taking prisoners. Tyler, do you recall the emergency protocol I taught you during our camping trips? Find the highest defensible position. Signal for help. Wait for extraction. Exactly, he replied. But this time, we aren't merely waiting to be found. We are generating evidence that will bring down everyone implicated in this conspiracy. I activated my phone's video recording function and entrusted it to Tyler. Document everything you remember about that phone conversation. Names, dates, specific details regarding the bribes and illegal permits. Should anything happen to me, this recording must reach the FBI. As Tyler commenced recording his testimony, I employed my military training to assess our tactical situation. The cave formation where we sought refuge offered 3 potential exit routes, each leading through areas under the surveillance of the security team. Nevertheless, these mercenaries had committed one critical error. They assumed they were pursuing a panicked father and a helpless child. They remained unaware that they were engaging with a former Army Ranger who had dedicated 15 years to training soldiers in survival techniques behind enemy lines. More importantly, they were oblivious to the fact that Tyler had inherited not only my survival instincts, but also my strategic thinking ability under duress. "Dad, there's something else," Tyler whispered once he finished recording. When Marcus was speaking with Judge Blackwood, he mentioned they had a cleanup specialist on their payroll, someone who makes problems disappear permanently. I believe he meant killing people who obstruct their plans. The tactical team was nearing. I could discern their radio chatter echoing off the canyon walls, coordinating their search pattern with military precision. However, they were seeking victims, not adversaries. It was time to illustrate the distinction. I inspected my equipment. Limited ammunition, basic survival gear, and the element of surprise. Against 8 professional operators on their home ground, these odds would ordinarily constitute suicide. Yet, I was not fighting to win a battle. I was fighting to keep my son alive long enough for the FBI to arrive and expose the truth about Marcus Wellington's criminal enterprise. Tyler, when I signal you, move to the back of this cave and activate the emergency beacon on my satellite phone. Regardless of what you hear outside, remain hidden until federal agents identify themselves with the code word Ranger. Understand? Dad, what are you going to do? I checked my weapon one final time, then gazed at my son. Brave, intelligent, and resolute in his determination to survive, precisely as his father had instructed him. I'm going to do what I trained for, buddy. I'm going to protect innocent people from very bad men who believe they are above the law. The first mercenary appeared at the cave entrance, weapon raised, anticipating easy targets. Instead, he encountered a father who had spent 15 years learning how to hunt down enemies who harmed children. The first mercenary never saw me coming. 2 decades of military training took over as I moved like a ghost through the canyon shadows, employing every stealth technique the army had ever taught me. He went down silently, his radio and weapon quickly secured before he could alert the rest of his team. But there were still 7 more professional killers hunting my son. From deeper within the cave, Tyler continued documenting everything he remembered about Marcus's phone conversation. His young voice remained steady despite our desperate situation, recording details about the illegal casino development on Chimmy's sacred land, evidence that would expose a conspiracy reaching from corrupt judges to federal land management officials. "Dad, I can hear more of them coming," Tyler whispered, his survival instincts sharp after days in the desert. I checked the captured radio. Their team leader was coordinating a systematic sweep of the canyon, expecting to find us within the hour. But they had made a tactical error. They were hunting in unfamiliar terrain, while I was fighting to protect my child, on ground I had already mapped during my search. "Tyler, remember what I taught you about adaptive camouflage? Use natural materials to break up your outline and blend with the environment." "Exactly," he replied. "There's a narrow passage at the back of this cave that leads to an escape route. I need you to crawl through there and wait in the hidden alcove we passed earlier. Take my satellite phone and keep recording everything you remember." Tyler looked scared, but determined. "What about you?" "I'm going to make sure these men never hurt another child again." As Tyler disappeared into the narrow passage with the evidence that could destroy Wellington Construction's entire criminal operation, I prepared to face 7 heavily armed mercenaries with limited ammunition and the terrain advantage. The second operative appeared at the cave mouth, moving with practiced military precision. But his night vision equipment was calibrated for open desert, not the deep shadows of a limestone cave. I had the element of surprise and 15 years of close-quarters combat experience. He joined his partner in unconsciousness, his equipment quickly redistributed to even my odds. Through the captured radio, I heard their team leader growing frustrated. "Alpha Team, report status. We should have found the targets by now." I keyed the microphone, using the voice patterns I'd learned during intelligence operations. "Alpha Team to command. Targets located but heavily fortified. Requesting backup and heavy equipment." "Negative on backup. Clean this up quickly and quietly. Wellington wants no trace of federal involvement." So, Marcus was monitoring the operation personally. That confirmed Tyler's testimony about the scope of this conspiracy. Wellington Construction had enough resources to hire private military contractors and enough corruption to operate with impunity. But they'd never faced someone who'd spent years teaching soldiers how to turn desperate situations into tactical advantages. The third and fourth operatives tried to flank my position, approaching from opposite sides of the canyon. Standard military tactics executed professionally, but I wasn't defending a static position anymore. Using techniques I'd learned in Afghanistan, I turned the canyon itself into a weapon. Loose rocks became avalanche triggers. Narrow passages became choke points. Every shadow became a potential ambush site. By the time the remaining team members realized they weren't hunting victims anymore, it was too late. They were being hunted by someone who understood that protecting innocent people sometimes required eliminating threats permanently. The team leader's voice crackled through the radio, panic replacing professional calm. All units fall back to extraction point. Repeat, abort mission and extract immediately. But I wasn't finished. These men had come to murder my son to protect a criminal conspiracy. They needed to understand the consequences of targeting children. I followed them through the canyon, moving like the predator I'd been trained to be. One by one, the remaining operatives discovered that kidnapping experts have very specific skills for dealing with people who hurt kids. When the last mercenary was secured with zip ties and thoroughly unconscious, I retrieved Tyler from his hiding place. My son was shaken but unharmed, still clutching the satellite phone with hours of recorded testimony about Wellington's crimes. "Dad, are they dead?" "Nobody. They're just going to sleep for a while until the FBI arrives. But they'll never threaten children again." That's when we heard the helicopters approaching. Not the local search and rescue teams that had been looking in the wrong area, but federal aircraft with distinctive engine signatures. Colonel Chun had delivered on her promise to send FBI corruption specialists. Through my binoculars, I watched 3 Bureau helicopters landing at the canyon entrance, disgorging teams of federal agents and tactical gear. Real law enforcement, not Marcus Wellington's hired killers. My satellite phone rang with Colonel Chun's voice. "Ethan, this is Sarah. FBI Corruption Task Force is on site. What's your status?" "Tyler is safe and unharmed. We have 8 unconscious private military contractors who attempted to murder a child witness. We possess recorded testimony detailing a conspiracy involving illegal casino construction on Jamuvi sacred land, federal bribery, and an attempted murder aimed at silencer witnesses. Noted, leading this corruption investigation is Agent Maria Santos, who will receive your statements and liaise with the Bureau's Organized Crime Division. This situation extends far beyond simple child endangerment. As federal agents secured the incapacitated mercenaries and initiated crime scene processing, Tyler and I finally emerged from the canyon, marking the end of the worst 3 days of his young life. However, Tyler was no longer merely a survivor. He stood as the pivotal witness whose courage and acumen would dismantle a criminal conspiracy reaching from corporate boardrooms to federal courtrooms. Agent Santos approached us, her expression grave yet resolute. "Mr. Reeves, Tyler, I am Special Agent Maria Santos with the FBI's Public Corruption Unit. We will require comprehensive statements detailing every event. But first, Tyler needs medical attention." While paramedics attended to Tyler's dehydration and exposure injuries, he looked up at Agent Santos with the same steadfast determination I had witnessed during his lone survival in the desert. "Agent Santos, I wish to testify about everything I overheard. Marcus Wellington and Judge Blackwood are plotting to seize Jimmy Sacred Land to construct an illegal casino. And my mother knew they intended to abandon me in the desert to die. The gears of justice were at last beginning to turn. Yet I harbored a premonition that the most formidable challenge still lay ahead. Proving Amanda's willing participation in a conspiracy to murder her own son Agent Santos established her mobile command center at the canyon entrance as paramedics continued treating Tyler for dehydration. My son remained remarkably composed despite his ordeal, his survival instincts still sharp as he provided meticulous testimony regarding Marcus Wellington's criminal conspiracy. Tyler, I need you to recount precisely what you heard during that phone conversation between Marcus and Judge Blackwood. Agent Santos gently prompted, her recorder capturing every word. Marcus stated they had fabricated archaeological surveys to conceal that the casino construction site contains Jimmy burial grounds. He said Judge Blackwood had already accepted $300,000 to expedite the federal permits through corrupt BLM officials. My chest swelled with pride observing Tyler's bravery. At just 12 years old, he was delivering testimony that would expose a federal conspiracy encompassing illegal land development, judicial corruption, and the attempted murder of a child witness. Agent Santos exchanged a look with her partner, Agent David Chun. Tyler, did Marcus mention any specific names of Bureau of Land Management officials who were accepting bribes? He referred to someone as Deputy Director Morrison and stated the payments needed to continue until the casino groundbreaking in September. Marcus also said that if anyone discovered the fake surveys, Morrison would need to disappear permanently, just as troublesome kids do. The implication was chilling. Wellington Construction was not merely bribing federal officials. They were prepared to murder anyone who threatened their illicit casino development on sacred Native American land. Agent Chun activated his secure communication device. FBI Riverside. This is Agent Chun with the Public Corruption Task Force. We require immediate federal arrest warrants for Marcus Wellington, Judge Harrison Blackwood, and Deputy Director James Morrison of the Bureau of Land Management. Charges include conspiracy to commit federal bribery, violation of Native American sacred site protections, and conspiracy to commit murder. While the FBI coordinated arrests across multiple federal agencies, I noticed something that sent a shiver down my spine. Sheriff's Department vehicles were approaching the canyon, but these were not the search and rescue teams that should have been seeking Tyler all along. Sheriff Ray Davis exited the lead vehicle, wearing the identical uniform I had observed during Tyler's abandonment. However, he wasn't there to assist federal law enforcement. His hand rested on his weapon as he approached Agent Santos with barely concealed hostility. Agent Santos, I will need you to release custody of Tyler Reeves to local authorities. This boy is a material witness in an ongoing county investigation. Agent Santos did not falter. Sheriff Davis, Tyler is under federal protection as a witness to federal crimes. Your jurisdiction does not supersede federal authority in cases involving public corruption and conspiracy to commit murder. That boy's been missing for 3 days. His family has been worried sick while his father dragged him deeper into the desert instead of bringing him to safety. I'm placing Ethan Reeves under arrest for child endangerment and interfering with the police investigation. The pieces coalesced with terrifying clarity. Sheriff Davis was not attempting to help Tyler. He was part of Wellington's conspiracy. The ongoing county investigation was a fabrication designed to silence Tyler before he could testify about the illegal casino development. Agent Chun stepped between Sheriff Davis and my son. Sheriff, if you attempt to interfere with a federal witness or obstruct this investigation, you will be facing federal charges yourself. I suggest you return to your vehicle and allow us to complete our work. Agent Chun, you people do not comprehend how things operate in San Bernardino County. Marcus Wellington employs half this region through his construction company. Judge Blackwood has served on the bench for 20 years. You cannot simply invade our jurisdiction and begin making accusations without repercussions. The facade was finally crumbling. Sheriff Davis had just confirmed the extent of Wellington's influence. A criminal network that controlled local law enforcement, federal land management, and the judicial system itself. It was then that Tyler spoke, his young voice cutting through the adult posturing with devastating clarity. Sheriff Davis, you're the one Marcus called that night. You're the one who promised to file the missing person report as a runaway case. Marcus said you've been taking money from his construction company for years to look the other way on building code violations. The sheriff's face paled. He had just been identified as a co-conspirator by the key witness to the entire federal corruption scheme. Agent Santos smiled grimly. Sheriff Davis, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a federal court of law. As federal agents placed Sheriff Davis under arrest, I grasped the full magnitude of what Tyler had uncovered. Wellington Construction had not merely planned to murder my son to safeguard an illegal casino development. They had corrupted an entire network of officials, from local sheriffs to federal judges to Bureau of Land Management directors. My satellite phone vibrated with a message from Colonel Chun. Ethan, FBI has arrested Judge Blackwood at his home in Palm Springs. Found $400,000 in cash and documents detailing the illegal casino permits. Wellington and Deputy Director Morrison are in federal custody. This is the biggest public corruption bust in California Desert Region history. Agent Santos approached Tyler and me as more federal vehicles arrived at the canyon. Ethan, Tyler, we will need both of you in protective custody while we process the arrests and prepare for trial. Wellington Construction has connections throughout the region, and there may be more co-conspirators we haven't identified yet. Tyler looked up at me with the same determination he had displayed while surviving, alone in the desert. Dad, I want to testify at their trials, all of them. Marcus, Judge Blackwood, Sheriff Davis, everyone who tried to hurt me and steal from the Shumaway people. My son was no longer just a survivor. He was a witness whose courage would expose a criminal conspiracy, reaching from construction boardrooms to federal courthouses. But as federal agents escorted us toward protective custody, a terrible premonition struck me. Amanda's role in this conspiracy was about to be revealed, and it was worse than I had ever imagined. The hardest betrayal was still ahead. 3 hours after Tyler's testimony led to Sheriff Davis's arrest, we finally found ourselves alone in the FBI's safe house. My son sat across from me at a small kitchen table. No longer the desperate child I had discovered in the desert cave, but not quite ready to trust that the nightmare had ended. Dad, there's something else I need to tell you about Mom. The words hit me like ice water. Throughout this entire ordeal, Amanda had remained silent, allowing federal agents to process the arrests while she maintained her guise as the grieving mother. However, Tyler's expression signaled that the deepest betrayal was yet to come. What is it, buddy? The night before the camping trip, I overheard Mom and Marcus talking in their bedroom. I couldn't sleep because I was nervous about going into the desert with Jake. Tyler's voice was steady, but his hands trembled slightly. The room seemed to tilt. Amanda hadn't just known about the abandonment plan. She had been counting on my son's death for financial gain. Quote, and through his quote, "For tears finally came, yet Tyler's voice remained strong. She said I reminded her too much of you, and that made Marcus uncomfortable. 20 years of marriage, divorce, and shared custody collapsed into one devastating truth. Amanda, driven by financial gain and the comforts of her new marriage, had orchestrated the abandonment of her own child. This wasn't a snap decision fueled by panic, but a cold, calculated act. My satellite phone rang, displaying Agent Santos's number. "Ethan, we need you and Tyler at the field office immediately. We've arrested someone willing to make a deal." Within 30 minutes, Tyler and I were seated in the FBI's interview room, observing Deputy Director James Morrison. This Bureau of Land Management official, who had accepted bribes to greenlight illegal casino construction on Kimmy sacred land, now appeared diminished. His expensive suit was crumpled, and his face was pale, reflecting the stark reality of impending federal prison time. "Agent Santos, I am prepared to cooperate fully with your investigation," Morrison declared. "I can provide evidence proving that Judge Blackwood and Marcus Wellington have been orchestrating this corruption scheme for over 3 years." He opened a briefcase, presenting an array of financial records, recorded phone conversations, and signed agreements that thoroughly detailed Wellington Construction's criminal enterprise. However, his next disclosure proved to be a game-changer. "There's something else you need to know regarding the Tyler Reeves situation. Amanda Wellington contacted me directly 6 months ago, inquiring about methods to permanently resolve custody issues that were disrupting her new marriage." Agent Santos leaned forward, her interest piqued. "What kind of resolution did she seek?" Morrison explained. "She wanted to know if there were legal avenues to terminate parental rights in situations where children might pose difficulties for blended families. When I clarified that courts rarely revoke parental rights without concrete evidence of abuse or abandonment, she then asked for other solutions. A knot tightened in my chest. Amanda had been plotting this for months, not merely days. "What other solutions did you discuss?" I pressed. Morrison's voice dropped to a whisper. "She inquired about the thoroughness of investigations into accidents occurring in remote federal lands. She specifically mentioned Joshua Tree National Park and the challenges of conducting forensic analysis in desert conditions." Tyler's grip on my hand beneath the table tightened. His mother had spent 6 months meticulously planning his murder, even consulting with federal officials about how to make it appear accidental. Agent Santos activated her recorder. "Mr. Morrison, are you asserting that Amanda Wellington solicited advice on how to murder her son and make it seem like an accidental death?" Morrison responded. "She never explicitly used those exact words, but the implication was unmistakably clear. She desired Tyler's disappearance in a manner that would eliminate custody complications and yield financial benefits through life insurance claims." The interview room was silent, save for the soft hum of the recording equipment, capturing testimony that would dismantle Amanda's carefully constructed facade of innocence. Agent Chin then entered, delivering an update that ignited a fierce anger within me. Quote 2. Amanda hadn't just been planning Tyler's death. She had been optimizing the financial benefits while gathering intelligence to ensure the murder plan's success. Agent Santos, I want to confront her. Ethan, that is not advisable. Amanda Wellington is scheduled for arrest within the hour. Let federal prosecutors handle this through proper legal channels. But Tyler interjected, his voice imbued with the same unwavering resolve he had shown while surviving alone in the desert. I want to face her, Dad. I want her to know that I heard everything she said and that I survived because you taught me to be stronger than her greed. 2 hours later, Amanda arrived at the FBI field office, fully expecting to sign paperwork as a concerned mother. Instead, she was met by federal agents bearing arrest warrants and her son, prepared to testify about her role in a conspiracy to commit murder. The moment she saw Tyler, alive and healthy, her meticulously maintained facade of motherly concern crumbled completely. There was no relief at seeing her child safe, no tears of joy at his survival, just a cold, calculating realization that her scheme had failed and her financial future was ruined. Tyler, sweetheart, you know how much Mommy loves you. Whatever you think you heard, you must have misunderstood. My son gazed at the woman who had given birth to him, then attempted to have him killed for insurance money. His voice was steady and clear. I didn't misunderstand anything, Mom. I heard you planning my death. And I survived because Dad taught me that family means protecting each other, not selling each other out for money. Amanda Wellington was arrested on federal charges of conspiracy to commit murder, insurance fraud, and child endangerment. As she was led away in handcuffs, she never once looked back at the son whose life she had tried to destroy. The federal courthouse in Riverside buzzed with media attention as the Wellington construction corruption case rapidly evolved into the largest organized crime prosecution in the history of California's desert region. Tyler and I sat in the witness preparation room, meticulously reviewing his testimony one final time before he would confront the individuals who had attempted to murder him. Agent Santos spread out photographs, financial records, and recorded conversations across the conference table. The evidence against Amanda, Marcus, Judge Blackwood, Sheriff Davis, and Deputy Director Morrison was overwhelming. But Tyler's eyewitness testimony would form the cornerstone that would dismantle their entire criminal conspiracy. Tyler, I know this is difficult, but when you testify today, the defense attorneys will undoubtedly try to confuse you or make you doubt what you heard. Remember, you're not just speaking for yourself, you're speaking for the Kemi people whose sacred land they tried to steal. My son nodded, exhibiting the same unwavering determination he had shown when surviving alone in the desert. At just 12 years old, he was poised to testify in federal court against his own mother and the criminal network that had conspired to end his life. Federal prosecutor Rebecca Hayes entered the room, carrying the final piece of evidence that would secure their convictions. Ethan, Tyler, we just received the forensic analysis of Marcus Wellington's construction company computers. What we discovered changes everything. She activated her laptop, displaying financial spreadsheets that unveiled the true scope of Wellington's illegal operations. Over the past 3 years, Wellington Construction has received $47 million in federal contracts for projects on Bureau of Land Management property. Every single contract was approved through bribed officials, and every project involved the desecration of Native American sacred sites. The magnitude of the numbers was staggering. This was not merely about one illegal casino. It was about a systematic program of cultural destruction and federal fraud that had been operating for years. But here's the most damning evidence. Prosecutor Hayes continued. We found encrypted communications between Amanda Wellington and a life insurance investigator discussing how to maximize claim payouts in cases involving the accidental death of minor children in federal wilderness areas. Tyler gripped my hand as we read the cold, calculated language Amanda had employed when meticulously planning his murder. She had researched optimal death scenarios, consulted with insurance experts about claim processing, and even meticulously rehearsed her performance as a grieving mother with an acting coach. Tyler, your mother spent 8 months meticulously planning every detail of your death. She chose Joshua Tree specifically because desert conditions would severely complicate forensic analysis. She carefully selected the timing to coincide with maximum insurance payouts, and she recruited Marcus's mercenaries to ensure you wouldn't survive long enough to be rescued. The courtroom was packed with spectators, media representatives, and federal agents. As the trial commenced, Marcus Wellington sat at the defense table in an orange jumpsuit, no longer the affluent construction mogul who had married my ex-wife. Judge Blackwood faced severe federal corruption charges that would irrevocably end his judicial career. Sheriff Davis had already pleaded guilty in exchange for a reduced sentence. However, it was Amanda who commanded my gaze as she entered the courtroom in handcuffs. The woman I had once loved, the mother of my child, who had spent months plotting to murder her own son for insurance money. When Tyler took the witness stand, a profound silence descended upon the courtroom. His young voice was clear and steady as he recounted the phone conversation he had overheard between Marcus and Judge Blackwood, detailing the illegal casino permits and the bribes paid to federal officials. Marcus told Judge Blackwood that they needed to eliminate any witnesses who could expose the fake archaeological surveys. He specifically mentioned that troublesome children who ask too many questions could disappear permanently in desert accidents. Defense attorney David Chun sought to discredit Tyler's testimony, suggesting that a 12-year-old could not accurately remember adult conversations or fully comprehend complex financial crimes. But Tyler had inherited more than just my survival instincts. He had also inherited my meticulous attention to detail and my ability to remain calm under intense pressure. Mr. Chun, I possess an exceptional memory for conversations because my father taught me to pay attention to details that might one day save my life. When I specifically heard my mother and Marcus planning my death, I paid very close attention because I knew I might need that information to survive. The jury sat riveted as Tyler compellingly explained how he had employed military survival techniques to stay alive in the desert, while federal agents diligently tracked down the conspiracy that had attempted to kill him. His testimony was devastating to the defense, but it was his final statement that caused the courtroom to fall into complete silence. My survival rests on the foundational lesson my father instilled. Family safeguards one another, eschewing betrayal for pecuniary gain. My mother, conversely, prioritized avarice over affection and sided with criminals against her own offspring. Yet, I persist, resolute in my commitment to secure justice for every individual they wronged. When Amanda mounted her defense, she contended manipulation by Marcus and feigned ignorance of the murder plot. However, Prosecutor Hayes presented recordings revealing Amanda's discussions with investigators regarding Tyler's life insurance policies, employing language that unequivocally exposed her true intentions. The jury deliberated for a mere 4 hours before delivering guilty verdicts on all charges. Marcus Wellington received a 25-year sentence for conspiracy to commit murder, federal bribery, and infringing upon Native American cultural protection statutes. Judge Blackwood was handed 15 years for judicial corruption and conspiracy. Deputy Director Morrison faced 12 years for federal bribery and egregious abuse of his position. Amanda Wellington received an 18-year federal prison sentence for conspiracy to commit the murder of a minor child, insurance fraud, and child endangerment. As federal marshals escorted the conspirators away to commence their punitive terms, Tyler's gaze met mine, imbued with the same unwavering courage he had displayed throughout this arduous ordeal. "Dad, is it finally over?" he inquired. "Yes, buddy. Justice has been served, and we can now begin our healing journey." The sacred Chimney lands were safeguarded under federal preservation orders. Wellington construction was dismantled, and Tyler's testimony had brought to light the most extensive public corruption scheme in the history of the California desert. Nevertheless, our genuine journey had only just commenced. Learning anew to trust, to convalesce from betrayal, and to construct a fresh existence founded on the indissoluble bond between a father and son who had endured the worst together. 6 months following Tyler's pivotal testimony, which led to the conviction of the entire Wellington construction conspiracy, we found ourselves in the federal courthouse for the ultimate sentencing hearing. Although media scrutiny had waned, the profound impact of my son's bravery continued to reverberate throughout the justice system. Federal Judge Rebecca Martinez meticulously reviewed the case files once more before pronouncing the sentences that would forever close this painful chapter of our lives. Tyler's grip instinctively tightened on my hand as the defendants, now shackled, were led into the courtroom, the very individuals who had attempted to end his life in the desolate desert. "Marcus Wellington, you stand convicted of conspiracy to commit murder, federal bribery, violation of Native American cultural protection laws, and racketeering," Judge Martinez declared with an authoritative voice that acknowledged each defendant's involvement. "Your construction company systematically desecrated sacred Chimney burial sites while corrupting federal officials to sanction illicit development projects. The court finds that your crimes represent a complete betrayal of public trust and an unconscionable threat to a child's life for financial gain." Marcus Wellington remained impassive as Judge Martinez handed down his sentence of 25 years in federal prison without eligibility for parole. His vast construction empire was dissolved, all assets seized to provide restitution to the Chimney tribe for the cultural damage inflicted. Judge Harrison Blackwood received a 15-year sentence for judicial corruption and conspiracy. The man who had bartered his judicial authority for bribes would spend his remaining years incarcerated. Stripped of his pension and legal credentials, Deputy Director James Morrison was given 12 years for federal bribery and the abuse of his position at the Bureau of Land Management. While his cooperation with prosecutors had reduced his sentence, he would still face the severe repercussions of violating his oath to safeguard public lands. Sheriff Ray Davis, who had already pleaded guilty in exchange for testifying against the other conspirators, received 8 years for conspiracy and obstruction of justice. His career in law enforcement was irrevocably over, his reputation shattered by his decision to shield criminals rather than children. However, it was Amanda's sentencing that captivated my complete attention. My ex-wife stood before Judge Martinez, no longer the self-assured woman who had married into wealth and plotted her son's demise. Prison had undeniably aged her, but more profoundly, the weight of her transgressions had shattered something intrinsic to her spirit. Amanda Wellington, you perpetrated the most heinous crime imaginable. Conspiracy to murder your own child for insurance money. You meticulously spent 8 months planning Tyler's death, consulting with experts on optimal killing methods, and coordinating with criminals to ensure your son would perish alone in the desert, Judge Martinez stated, her voice unwavering. Tyler's grip on my hand intensified, yet his expression remained resolute and focused. He had delivered his testimony with unwavering courage, and now he would bear witness to justice being served for the woman who had utterly betrayed him. The court sentences you to 18 years in federal prison. You will serve every day of this sentence and will provide full restitution for the trauma inflicted upon your son and the investigative costs incurred by multiple federal agencies. As federal marshals prepared to escort Amanda back to her cell, she turned toward Tyler one final time. I tensed, poised to shield my son from any last attempt at manipulation. But Amanda's words astonished me. Tyler, I know you'll probably never forgive me. I don't expect you to, but I want you to know that watching you survive everything I put you through, it showed me the kind of person your father raised you to be. He gave you a strength I never had. Tyler looked at the woman who had given birth to him, then tried to have him killed for money. His response was measured and mature, beyond his tender years. I forgive you, because holding on to anger would hurt me more than it hurts you. But forgiveness doesn't mean I'll ever trust you again. What you did was evil, and these consequences are what you deserve. Amanda nodded once, then allowed the marshals to lead her away to begin serving her sentence. She would be eligible for parole in 15 years, but by then, Tyler would be a grown man with his own life, far beyond her ability to harm him. Judge Martinez addressed Tyler directly before concluding the proceedings. Young man, your courage in testifying against these criminals has protected sacred Native American lands, exposed federal corruption, and ensured that other children will never face the dangers you survived. You are an exceptional young man, and this court commends your bravery. Outside the courthouse, representatives from the Chimmy tribe awaited to personally express their gratitude to Tyler for safeguarding their ancestral burial grounds. Tribal Chairman Robert Valdez presented Tyler with a ceremonial eagle feather, a powerful symbol of courage and honor that would forever remind him of the pivotal role he had played in preserving their cultural heritage. Tyler, because of your bravery, our sacred lands are protected forever. Our ancestors' graves will not be disturbed for casino profits. You are an honorary member of our tribe, and you will always have a home with the Chimmy people, Valdez declared. Agent Santos then approached us with the final updates on the ongoing investigation. Ethan Tyler, the Wellington construction case has not only led to significant reforms in Bureau of Land Management oversight, but also new, vital protections for Native American cultural sites. Your courage has made the entire federal system demonstrably more accountable. As we walked away from the courthouse for the final time, Tyler looked up at me, his gaze holding the same unwavering determination he had demonstrated throughout this entire ordeal. "Dad, do you think we can finally move on now?" he asked. "Yes, buddy. Justice has been served completely. Now we can fully focus on building our new life together, one founded on truth, trust, and the unbreakable bond between us." The legal proceedings had concluded, but our genuine journey of healing had only just commenced. We had endured the most profound betrayal imaginable, and now, hand in hand, we could begin to mend. 2 years had elapsed since the conclusion of the trials, and Tyler's laughter now filled our new home in Colorado Springs, a considerable distance from the desert where he had nearly perished. A desert laden with the painful memories of Amanda's betrayal. At 14, my son had blossomed into a confident young man, channeling his profound survival experience into a powerful mission, helping other children, confronting family crises. I watched him meticulously demonstrate wilderness survival techniques to a group of teenagers at the Rocky Mountain Youth Center, his voice steady and authoritative as he explained how to locate vital water sources and construct rudimentary emergency shelters. The trauma of those 3 harrowing days in Joshua Tree had transmuted into something profoundly impactful. A steadfast resolve to shield other children from perilous situations. Remember, panic kills faster than dehydration. Tyler instructed his students, echoing the very lessons I had imparted years prior. Stay calm, meticulously assess your resources, and always, always signal for help. Someone is indeed searching for you. Following the training session, Tyler and I drove to our cherished hiking spot in the Garden of the Gods, continuing a treasured tradition we had established after relocating to Colorado. These weekly father-son adventures had become our sacred ritual for processing the past while actively forging trust for the future. "Dad, I received another letter from the Chima tribe today," Tyler announced as we reached our customary overlook. "They want me to deliver a speech at their cultural preservation ceremony next month. They are officially declaring the burial grounds as a protected heritage site." The Chimi people had never forgotten Tyler's instrumental role in safeguarding their sacred lands from Wellington Construction's illicit casino development. Over the past 2 years, my son had not only become an honorary member of their tribe, immersing himself in Native American traditions, but they, in turn, had learned invaluable lessons from his compelling survival narrative. "Are you prepared for that kind of public speaking?" I inquired, knowing that Tyler still occasionally grappled with large crowds. "I think so. Agent Santos mentioned she might attend to discuss how the FBI corruption investigation led to new federal protections for tribal lands," he replied. "It feels incredibly important to show people that standing up to criminals actually makes a difference." Agent Maria Santos had evolved into far more than just the federal prosecutor who had helped convict Amanda and her conspirators. She had become an invaluable mentor to Tyler, helping him grasp that his intrinsic courage had served as a shield, safeguarding not only himself, but also countless other children and various Native American communities across the region. My phone vibrated with an incoming message from Colonel Sarah Shawn, my former commanding officer who had coordinated the federal response during Tyler's rescue. She had been diligently tracking our emotional progress through the healing journey with the same meticulous attention she once devoted to intricate military operations. Quote, Tyler's compelling testimony had accomplished more than just securing convictions against criminals. It had fundamentally reformed how law enforcement agencies approached cases involving endangered children. FBI field offices nationwide now utilize Tyler's harrowing survival story as essential training material for agents investigating child endangerment and domestic violence incidents. Yet, it was our personal healing that held the most profound significance for me. Tyler had proactively chosen to attend therapy sessions with Dr. Rebecca Hayes, the dedicated trauma specialist who had expertly guided him in processing the profound betrayal by his mother. These transformative sessions had instructed both of us on the delicate process of rebuilding trust after experiencing the ultimate family betrayal. Tyler, do you ever think about visiting Amanda in prison? I inquired cautiously, fully aware that this remained a profoundly sensitive subject. My son pondered the question with careful deliberation, reflecting the thoughtful manner he had cultivated to approach all difficult decisions. Maybe someday, when I'm older. Dr. Hayes says, forgiveness isn't about pretending what someone did was okay. It's about not letting their crimes control your life anymore. And how do you feel about that? I forgave Mom because holding on to anger was hurting me. But I don't miss her, and I don't need her in my life. You've shown me what real family looks like. People who protect each other instead of betraying each other for money. Amanda would become eligible for parole in 13 more years. By then, Tyler would be 27, a mature man with his own established life, his own emerging family, and his own deeply rooted understanding of loyalty and love. She had irrevocably forfeited the right to be a part of his future the instant she prioritized greed over her own child's precious life. My consulting business had flourished beyond my initial expectations, specializing in comprehensive family security and wilderness survival training. Parents from every corner of the country sought my specialized services after hearing Tyler's remarkable story. Driven by a fervent desire to ensure their own children could survive if they ever confronted similar perils. More significantly, however, Tyler and I had meticulously constructed something that Amanda's betrayal could never demolish. An unbreakable bond founded on unwavering trust, mutual respect, and authentic love. Every camping excursion, every survival lesson, every quiet, shared conversation had incrementally fortified our relationship until it evolved into something sufficiently powerful to withstand any future challenges. Dad, there's something I've been thinking about, Tyler remarked as we prepared to journey home. What's that, buddy? When I graduate high school, I want to study criminal justice and Native American studies. I want to become an FBI agent who specializes in protecting kids and tribal lands. Agent Santos said I'd be good at it because I understand what it feels like to be a victim who fights back. I think that's an excellent goal, Tyler. You have the courage, intelligence, and heart to make a real difference in the world. As we drove homeward through the majestic Colorado mountains, I grasped that Amanda's ultimate failure wasn't merely the forfeiture of her freedom. It was the irreparable loss of the opportunity to witness her son blossom into the truly remarkable man he was destined to embody. 5 years had elapsed since that terrifying night when Tyler's voicemail irrevocably shattered our world. Now, observing my 19-year-old son graduate from the FBI Academy, I felt an overwhelming sense of pride as he stood among America's newest federal agents, poised to protect children and families, just as we had desperately needed protection all those years ago. Tyler strode across the stage in his immaculate formal FBI uniform, gracefully accepting his badge and credentials directly from Director Martinez herself. His graduation speech had profoundly moved the entire auditorium to tears as he eloquently spoke about surviving betrayal, discovering unforeseen strength in darkness, and dedicating his life to ensuring no child would ever endure what he had. 5 years ago, I was a 12-year-old boy left to die in the desert by people who were supposed to protect me, Tyler had candidly told his fellow graduates. Today, I'm an FBI agent specializing in crimes against children and Native American cultural protection. Survival isn't just about staying alive. It's about transforming trauma into purpose, pain into power, and betrayal into justice. Following the ceremony, we drove to the Chimmy Reservation, where Tribal Chairman Robert Valdez awaited us, accompanied by the entire Tribal Council. They ceremoniously declared this Tyler Reeves Day in honor of the young man who had heroically protected their sacred burial grounds from illegal casino development. Tyler, because of your courage 5 years ago, our ancestors rest in peace on protected land. Today, you become not just an FBI agent, but a guardian of justice for all indigenous peoples. Chairman Valdez proclaimed as he presented Tyler with a special eagle feather, an honor traditionally reserved for the tribe's most revered heroes. Tyler accepted the tribute with the same quiet dignity he had consistently displayed throughout our extensive healing journey. At 19, he had matured into a man who understood that genuine strength emanates from protecting others, not from seeking revenge against those who inflict harm. Agent Maria Santos, now promoted to Deputy Director of the FBI's Crimes Against Children Division, approached us with news that would definitively close this tumultuous chapter of our lives. Tyler, Ethan, I wanted you to know that Amanda Wellington was denied parole again this month. The parole board cited your victim impact statement and determined that she still poses a risk to child safety. She'll serve her full 18-year sentence. Amanda had spent 5 years in federal prison, finally confronting the grave consequences of attempting to murder her own child for insurance money. Tyler had carefully crafted a powerful victim impact statement for her parole hearing, not driven by a thirst for vengeance, but by a resolute commitment to ensuring other children would be safeguarded from her potential harm. How do you feel about that decision? Agent Santos inquired of Tyler. My son considered the question with the deep thoughtfulness that had become his distinctive trait. I feel grateful that the justice system worked, that other children are safe, and that I've been able to build a life based on helping people instead of being defined by what she did to me. As the radiant sun descended over the majestic Colorado Rockies, Tyler and I sat on the same overlook, where we had processed so much communal healing over the preceding years. Tomorrow, he would commence his inaugural assignment with the FBI's Child Abduction Rapid Deployment Team, leveraging his unique understanding of survival and betrayal to rescue other endangered children. Dad, there's something I want to ask you, Tyler began, his voice imbued with the profound weight of everything we had collectively experienced. What's that, son? After everything we've been through, the abandonment, the betrayal, the trials, the healing, do you think people can really change? Do you think Amanda will ever understand what she did was wrong? I gazed at the remarkable man my son had become. Compassionate, strong, and deeply dedicated to protecting others, despite having endured the most egregious betrayal imaginable. His question merited the most honest answer I could provide. Tyler, some people are broken in ways that can't be fixed. Amanda chose money over love, greed over her own child's life, but her failures don't define your worth or your future. You survived because you chose courage over fear, hope over despair, and love over hatred. Tyler nodded, then posed the question that had steadily gathered throughout our entire healing journey. Dad, do you think we'll ever be completely free from what happened to us? Buddy, freedom isn't about forgetting what happened to us. Freedom is about refusing to let other people's evil choices control our lives. You've taken your trauma and turned it into a mission to protect other children. That's not just survival, that's victory. As the first stars materialized in the darkening sky, Tyler stood and extended his hand to assist me upwards. It was a simple gesture that elegantly symbolized how our roles had evolved over the years. He was no longer the child I had rescued from the desert. He was now the man who would rescue other children from analogous dangers. Ready to head home, Dad? Ready, Agent Reeves. Reflecting upon our narrative, I recognized that Amanda's betrayal had inadvertently revealed something she never intended. It had illuminated for Tyler and me what true family genuinely entails. Not merely individuals connected by blood who betray each other for financial gain, but rather people who deliberately choose each other every single day, who protect each other against all formidable odds, and who meticulously transform their shared trauma into a unified, shared strength. Tyler would dedicate his career to saving children who faced predicaments similar to what he had survived. I would continue my vital work teaching essential survival skills to families who required protection. And together, we would unequivocally prove that love is indeed stronger than betrayal, that courage can genuinely overcome evil, and that justice truly prevails when good people steadfastly refuse to surrender. Our nightmare in the desert had culminated in Tyler's rescue. Our new life as an unbreakable father-son team was just beginning. That is how a family ultimately survives the profound betrayal. Not by simply forgetting what transpired, but by actively choosing to protect other families from experiencing the same agonizing pain. And for Tyler and me, that choice made all the discernible difference. As we walked back to our truck, Tyler gazed up at the very stars that had once guided him to safety in the Joshua Tree Desert. Now, they were guiding him toward a future where he would be the one proactively performing the rescuing. However, prior to concluding this narrative, I pose a pivotal question to all who accompanied us on our arduous expedition. In my circumstances, what course of action would you have pursued? Would you have struggled relentlessly to safeguard your offspring despite overwhelming adversity? Or would you have placed your faith in the established system to manage the situation? I eagerly anticipate hearing from all of you observing from across the globe. Kindly leave your comments below and indicate your location. Furthermore, remember to press the like button and subscribe for additional astonishing chronicles of resilience, treachery, and retribution. Crucially, in the comments, please inform me about the genres of stories you wish to hear next. Do you have a preference for tales of military survival, narratives of family betrayal and vengeance, or accounts of justice prevailing against corruption? Your input is invaluable in allowing me to deliver precisely the content that captivates and enthralls you. My sincere gratitude goes out to each of you for embarking on this odyssey with Tyler and me, transitioning from a desert ordeal to an FBI triumph. Until our next encounter, cherish your loved ones, shield the blameless, and always bear in mind that ultimately, love conquers all. The story has reached its conclusion.